Hello, my name is Leroy Zinyemba. I'm a student here in Australia studying a Diploma of Community Service Work with Southern Cross Education Institute right here in Melbourne. I got to know about AWM Education Services through the radio. I was listening to a program on Star FM in 2016 and then this advertisement came up. There was an expo that was going on at Miko's Hotel. So I just said to myself, okay, since I was looking for opportunities, I was looking for a place to go expanding, getting out of my comfort zone. I said, no, let me attend this expo and hear what it's all about. So I got to Miko's Hotel and then I was fortunate, I got to meet consultants of AWM Education Services, and they brought with them a plethora of options in terms of courses that could be done in Australia. So I had a look at the colleges from ITHEA, Southern Cross, Australian Institute of Technical Training, and had a look at the courses that were being offered there. And I made sure I made the choice for myself, which is Diploma of Community Service Work. I took that course because it's definitely something that I like to do. Previously, I've been working with people through my background, and I just enjoy giving back to people in terms of working for seeing the best coming out of other people, giving out to people. And in terms of the journey to Australia on the visa process, I would definitely say it's not easy, just like everybody else. There's definitely ups and downs in terms of hurdles that you come across. It depends per individual situation, I guess. But in terms of my situation, it wasn't easy because there were lots of demands that were coming from immigration in terms of financial capabilities, sponsor details, and things like that. So what's important is to make sure that each and every detail is up to the T, because one slight mistake can cost you the visa ultimately. But that being said, just make sure that you're as comfortable and you're as honest as possible in terms of your application. And in terms of settling in Australia, it's really been good, really. I've settled quite well. And in fact, I'm exactly a year in Australia today. And to begin with, yes, it was a bit rocky in terms of settling in. You're coming from where you're used to, your comfort zone essentially, and then being thrown into the deep end, if I can put it that way. So you're definitely meeting new people, a multicultural society that's big, that's massive. And there's definitely a bit of a culture shock. But what I can say in terms of that is to basically embrace that, because there's beauty in diversity and you get to learn a lot from other people, other cultures from all over the world. So it's definitely something to look forward to. And then in terms of how easy is it to get a job in Australia? To be honest, if you're coming in, the first couple of weeks or the first couple of months, if I can say, it's not easy. Why? Because there's a lot of standard that is required, and it's obviously Australian standard. So at this point in time, it's definitely best to try as much as possible to do a course that's Australian related or it's Australian recognized, right? That being said, talking about the Certificate 3 in individual support, here in Australia, that's a massive, massive field of work. So that's definitely a course worth considering. The Certificate 3, it's your gateway to essentially getting your first form of employment in Australia. Why? Because if I can put it across just for the sake of knowledge and common knowledge, the life expectancy in Australia is at 88 years now. So definitely the population, it's an aging population and it's continuing to age, right? So that definitely means the elder population will need some support. Hence the Certificate 3, why we're pushing for the Certificate 3. I myself completed the Certificate 3 in 6 months, and I'm glad to say that I'm working in aged care at the moment, and it's been reaping some very good results. And in terms of paying your fees, definitely yes, you can pay your fees without breaching your 40-hour conditions. But my emphasis will be on financial discipline and personal discipline. The more you invest in yourself and the more you invest into being productive, that's when you can you'll definitely yield results. So yes, you can work without breaching your visa conditions. And just a word of advice: don't really listen to some of the people that say, "Ah, you can work, you can breach your hours. They won't find out." Definitely, they will find out. They've got all the technology in the world to see what you're doing. And tips, basically tips for other students or prospective students coming here in Australia. Yes, come with an open mind. It's definitely a transition from being in Zimbabwe to being in Australia. It's moving from point A to point B. That being said, I encourage people to have an open mind, because you will definitely meet a lot of different people and you encounter lots and lots of different experiences that you've not been exposed to. But just embrace it. Have an open mind. Just enjoy it. And as much as you may be pressured by all the challenges that may come across, it's not a walk in the path, that I can say. Coming to a different country like this, it's not a walk in the path, but it's definitely something that you will relish and that you will be making memories of. It's definitely an experience and it's really nice. Work hard, play hard, and don't forget to take care of yourself. And by taking care of yourself, I simply mean giving yourself a break. It's common knowledge that there's a very high, in terms of work rate, there's a very high rate of work here in Australia. People push themselves to the maximum. But in so doing, you just got to remember to take care of yourself, take a break, meet as many people as possible, have some friends, and be involved in community activities as well. Just basically take care of yourself. And then, yes, focus. Just tying up everything. Focus is important, and discipline as well. In terms of driving in Australia, it's definitely a big country, regardless of which city you are, be it Melbourne, Sydney, or even Adelaide. And being mobile is quite something to be considered. So bring your Zimbabwean license. If you've got a Zimbabwean license, you're allowed to drive with the Zimbabwean license, given that you're moving around with a form of identification. For us international students, it's definitely the Zimbabwean passport. So if you move around with the Zimbabwean passport and the driving license in conjunction, it's still okay. You can go from point A to point B. That being said, we can also encourage people to get the Australian license as well. That's if you can. It's not a requirement per se, depending on the kind of job that you'll be doing or the kind of work that you'll be doing. But the driver's license, it's something that's it's powerful. It's quite useful. If you can get the Australian driver's license, you can go through the process. I will definitely not go through it right now, but it's still worth it. It's a form of identification here as well. It's important because you find that some of the jobs, be it outreach programs, they have a requirement driver's license, an Australian driver's license. So depending on what you choose to do, upon coming in, you can use the Zimbabwean driver's license and then later on work towards getting the Australian one, depending on which state you are.